Welcome to Archetypes of the East. Today we're looking at Hexagram 64, before completion. The last hexagram in the oracle story of the I Ching, it signifies the state just before the goal is reached, a brief transition period, or unfulfilled initiatives. Careful strategic action is needed to bring about completion. Life is a cycle of never-ending completions and renewals, and the end is in sight, but there are challenges along the way. Despite the elements not being fully aligned where they should be, they can come together, but they need proper maintenance and leadership to do so. Rushing forward with overconfidence is not advised at this critical point in time. The principle of this hexagram is the perpetual pivot. Hexagram 64 is the mirror image of hexagram 63. Here, fire sits above water. Every line is out of place, creating a state of maximum tension and potential energy. This is the strategy of the unfinished crossing. It teaches that the end of the journey is simply the pre-production phase for the next. In the I Ching, the story doesn't end with, they live happily ever after. It ends with, they were ready to begin again. This is the hexagram of critical transitions. It signifies the state just before the goal is reached. The oracle says the last 1% requires 100% focus. You are now in a brief transition period. While the end is in sight, the elements are not fully aligned. This is the liminal space where projects often fail because the will relaxes before the work is done. You must lead these unaligned elements into a cohesive whole through proper maintenance and leadership. There is a warning here against premature celebration. Because you can see the goal, your brain tells you that it's already finished. This mental overconfidence creates blind spots. If you rush, you will trip on the threshold. The oracle suggests treat the end with the caution of a beginning. In career, this is the final review before a contract is signed. It's not done until the ink is dry. In relationships, it is the transition from dating to commitment, a delicate bridge that requires strategic sincerity. Success is the concentration maintained through transition. The key or energy of this hexagram is electric, unsettled, and pregnant with all sorts of possibility. The atmosphere of hexagram 64 is the calm before the new storm arrives. It feels like the silence in a theater just before the curtain rises. Everything is set, but nothing has started. The image of hexagram 64 states fire over water. Fire over water, the image of the condition just before completion. The superior one is careful in the differentiation of things so that each finds its proper place. Because everything is currently in the wrong place, you must be careful to identify what belongs where. This is about becoming a master organizer in order to complete the endeavor. You can't force order. You can guide each element to its natural home instead. You are the conductor of the transition. The judgment of hexagram 64 states, before completion there can be success. If one is not vigilant and careful, they will be like the fox nearly completing the crossing of the river that falls, getting their tail in the water. Then there is nothing that would further the initiative. This is the hexagram of the calculated finish. Hexagram 64 is the paradox of the I Ching. It is the final hexagram, yet it is named before completion. This teaches that total completion is a myth. We are always in a state of transition. The little fox represented here in the hexagram represents the beginner's mind or the eager will. This is the strategy of threshold vigilance. It teaches that the last 3 steps of a journey are as dangerous as the first 3 miles. Life is a spiral, not necessarily a straight line. The oracle says the end is the seed of the start. You must fortify your composure as you move from the old phase into the new. If you hurry the final steps, you will get your tail wet, meaning you will stumble exactly where success was guaranteed. A stumble at the finish line doesn't just delay you, it can nullify the entire initiative. Focus on deliberate, concise steps. The most dangerous part is the last steps that you take when your guard is lowered. This is a warning against premature celebration. In career, do not announce the win until the contract is in the vault. In relationships, do not assume safety until the new foundation is actually lived. Celebrate only after the line has been completely and totally crossed. Look at each new situation with curiosity rather than forming expectations. To cross the final water, you must return to the clarity that you had at the very start of your endeavor. Do not let emotions or assumptions cloud your inner clarity. Success is the steady hand that carries the cup until it is set down on the table. This is the spiral strategy. It's the realization that almost finished is not finished. The I Ching says, success is possible, but vigilance is mandatory. Do not be like the rushing fox that wets its tail in the last inch of the river. Fortify your composure. Do not celebrate just yet. Rushing the final steps will stumble the entire venture. In career, use calculated bravery to keep your guard up at the finish line. In relationships, use a beginner's mind to enter the new phase. Life is a spiral. Be steady as you transition into the new beginning. A changing line 1. Like a careless fox, one slips and wets their tail in the river. This brings humiliation. Line 1 is the bottom of the inner trigram of water. In the I Ching, the careless fox represents the beginner who is so focused on the far bank that they forget to test the initial current at their feet. This is the strategy of temporal awareness. It teaches that speed is a poor substitute for thoroughness at the start of a transition. One is attempting to finish a challenging task, but isn't quite prepared. This leads to a minor setback or an embarrassment. The oracle says you're outrunning your own preparation. By acting impulsively, you're inviting a humiliation that is entirely avoidable. The wet tail here is a public sign of amateurism. You don't need a grand strategy yet. You just need to proceed carefully and act at the right time. If you do not heed the advice, you may need to backtrack. This is a warning against inefficient movement. It's much faster to wait and start correctly than it is to rush, fail, and then redo. The humiliation comes from having to return to the start with everyone watching. The oracle suggests thoroughly prepare before finishing. Composure is your best waterproofing. In career, this is the draft sent out too early or the meeting attended without the data. The idea is good, but the execution is sloppy. In relationships, it is oversharing too soon and making the other person uncomfortable. Success is the silence of a smooth entry. This is the line of having readiness strategy. It's the realization that haste creates waste and embarrassment. The I Ching says, do not be like the careless fox that wets its tail in the first inch of the river. You are attempting a challenging task, but you are not quite prepared. This impulsiveness brings humiliation. Slow down and thoroughly prepare. Do not rush the finish or force the start. Act at the right time to avoid a minor setback that forces you to backtrack. Your goal is to cross without splashing. A changing line 2. They apply the brakes of their wagon wheels for now. Continual perseverance to wait for the right moment brings good fortune on the matter. This line is talking about intentional patience. Line 2 is the center of the inner water trigram. In the I Ching, the breaking of the wheels represents the conscious refusal to be swept away by the current of transition. Unlike the fox of line 1 who rushes and fails, the seeker here recognizes that the river is currently too high. This is the strategy of the masterful wait. It teaches that good fortune is the reward for those who can endure the interval without losing their focus. Proceed with extreme caution. Slow your progress even if it feels counterproductive. The oracle says, stillness is a form of work. You are not stuck. You are applying the brakes to avoid a crash. In this before completion phase, speed is a liability. By slowing down, you are preparing extra carefully for the final push. This isn't quitting, it is timing. There is a warning here against resignation. Waiting is not the same as doing nothing. You must maintain your alertness and intention while the wheels are locked. If you give up during the wait, you won't be ready when the moment finally arrives. Perseverance here means staying loaded and locked in. In career, this is the project that is ready to ship, but the market is volatile. Hold the launch until the weather clears. In relationships, it is waiting for the right mood to have a difficult conversation. Success is the brake that saves the wagon. This is the strategy of proper timing. It's the realization that now is not then. The I Ching says, apply the brakes to your wagon wheels for now. Proceed with extreme caution. It is not the opportune time to move forward, so slow your progress even if it feels counterproductive. You're not stuck. You're preparing for the next big push. Continual perseverance in your waiting brings good fortune. Trust the brake as much as the engine. A changing line 3. Before completion, forcing a premature completion like a careless general anxious to attack brings misfortune. It furthers one to undertake their great endeavor. Line 3 sits at the very edge of the inner trigram of water. In the I Ching, the seeker is frustrated by the weight of line 2 and decides to force the end. This is the strategy of reframed effort. It teaches that when a direct attack on the goal is blocked by structural obstacles, you must stop fighting and start navigating instead. If you try to use your remaining momentum to finish something now, you will fail. The oracle says, do not mistake motion for victory. Forcing a premature completion is the hallmark of a careless general who is more interested in the fight than the actual win. If the path is blocked, aggression will only lead to misfortune. You're still facing major challenging tasks that cannot be bullied into submission. It may be time to find expert help if you're underqualified or overwhelmed. This is the meaning of crossing the great water. In the I Ching, this often implies seeking a great one or a new resource. If you cannot attack your way through, you must organize your way across. Admitting that you're underqualified for the final stretch is not a defeat. It is a preparation that ensures success. In career, this is the project lead who stops micromanaging a failed team and instead hires a specialist to bridge the technical gap. In relationships, it is stopping the argument and seeking mediation. Success is knowing when to trade the sword for a boat. The strategy here is navigation. It's the realization that force is not flow. The I Ching says forcing a premature completion like a careless general brings misfortune. Your linear progress is blocked. Do not attack the obstacle. Cross the great water instead. Tackle the remaining challenges with proper preparation and qualified help. If you're overwhelmed, find an expert. Stop trying to finish with brute force and start navigating with strategy. A changing line 4. Perseverance brings good fortune, and all regret vanishes. It is the moment to attack, combating inner doubts and obstacles to completion, in the same way the ancestors brought shock to discipline the devil's country. The arduous effort will take much time. Great spoils are awarded for one's efforts. Line 4 is the transition into the outer fire trigram. While line 3 warned against premature attack, line 4 is the green light to go ahead. The devil's country here is a metaphor that represents those deep-seated, persistent obstacles to completion that have haunted the entire journey. This is the strategy of the sustained breakthrough. It teaches that great realms, or permanent success, are only awarded to those who can maintain shock-level effort until the very end. This is the shock phase, where any lingering doubts and lamenting need to be set aside. The oracle says your regrets are your fuel. All the remorse from previous wet tails and impatient slips vanishes now because you are finally doing the work. This isn't a quick fix. It is an arduous effort. You are attacking the inner doubts and the long-standing strife with a major persistent effort. There is a warning here in this line against premature fatigue. Just because you have entered the final phase doesn't mean that you can relax. The spoils are only for those whose vigilance doesn't waver. You are ready and prepared to defeat the source of strife once and for all. In career, this is the final push to secure a massive patent or market share. It is gritty, long, and transformative. In relationships, it is the deep work of rebuilding trust over time after a major crisis. Success is the spoils of the sustained siege. This is the line of campaign strategy. It's the realization that big wins take big time. The I Ching says perseverance brings good fortune and all regret vanishes. It's finally the moment to attack. Combat your inner doubts and obstacles as if they were disciplining a hostile country. This arduous effort will take much time, but great realms are the reward. You are mastering your setbacks. Stay vigilant and steadfast. The long-standing source of your strife is ready for defeat. Victory is endurance. A changing line 5. Continued perseverance brings good fortune. All previous regrets vanish. The brilliant, steady inner light of the superior one is true for all those to see. Good fortune. This line is talking about translucent leadership. Line 5 is the heart of the outer trigram of fire. In the I Ching, this is the moment the sun reaches the center of the sky. The crossing of the river is effectively over. The perseverance required now is not about struggle, it's about staying true to the inner light that guided you through the dark waters. This is the strategy of absolute alignment. It teaches that at the peak, your character is the only message that truly matters. One is no longer attempting to succeed. They embody that success. The oracle says, your frequency is your result. Because you have properly learned from previous lessons, your previous regrets vanish. You are no longer panting at the first line. You are radiating the brilliant, steady inner light of someone who has mastered the crossing of the great water. This true light is for all to see. It is the source of the immense trust and confidence you now receive from others. The united effort is free from blame. The old passes away and the new era has begun. This is a sign of harmonic completion. All of the friction and unaligned elements from the beginning of Hexagram 64 have finally clicked into place. You don't need to defend your success because the truth of your inner light makes it undeniable. The task is virtually complete because you have become the person capable of finishing it. In career, this is the moment a leader's vision becomes industry standard. You aren't selling anymore. People are buying into you. In relationships, it is the deep peace that comes when both partners finally see the true light in one another. Good fortune is the reflection of your inner clarity. This line is the realization that integrity is invisible power. The I Ching says continued perseverance brings good fortune and all regrets vanish. Your brilliant, steady inner light is true for all to see. You have stopped trying and you have started being. By learning from the struggle, you have gained immense trust. The final goal is within reach and all elements are in place. The old has passed and the new era is begun. Your victory is true. A changing line 6. There is drinking of wine in genuine confidence and celebration on the matter, which in and of itself brings no blame. But if one overindulges in their commemoration, they lose their integrity. This line is talking about a sober victory. Line 6 is the final moment of the outer trigram of fire and the conclusion of the entire I Ching. The river is finally crossed. Genuine confidence is earned. However, the oracle ends on a warning note. The wine of celebration is a water of its own. This is the strategy of sustained integrity. It teaches that the truth of a leader is tested more by success than by struggle. You have earned the right to partake in celebration. Celebration in and of itself is no blame, but if you overindulge, if you allow the wine of your own ego to wet your head, you lose your integrity. You become intoxicated by your own myth, and you lose the inner fire or the clarity that got you across the abyss. If celebration is taken too far, there will be misfortune. This is a warning against post-success complacency. The last step is the most psychological. If you are drowned in excess or arrogance, you effectively uncomplete the work. To lose it in truth means to lose the very essence of why you started the journey in the first place. In career, this is the victory lap that turns into laziness. Stay sobered and upright even while accepting the award. In relationships, it is the milestone that leads to taking the other person for granted. Success is the grace to celebrate without forgetting the water. This line is the realization that the end is the ultimate test. The I Ching says, drink the wine of your genuine confidence. There is no blame in celebration, but if you overindulge and wet your head, you lose your integrity. A humble celebration is due, but careless revelry invites misfortune. Stay sobered and vigilant. You are never too successful to drown in the last inch. Hold your truth, even in the party. The spiral is about to begin again. That concludes Hexagram 64. I hope that you liked the video if you found it helpful in understanding this hexagram, and I'm thankful for you for coming with me on this journey through the entire I Ching. We begin once again at Hexagram 1, the creative force, heaven.